Is that me ringing? Hello. Aaron, or they'll get it figured out back there. Aaron texted me that his in-ears was a mess, and sometimes when we get here on Sundays, things work beautifully, and it's amazing. That happens twice a year, and so the other 50 Sundays out of the year, there's always something that doesn't work. Like sometimes these screens, they reassign themselves, and if you've ever had dual monitors on a computer, like that gets messy. Well, imagine having 6 monitors that are going on, and we're like, where's the mouse? And we're trying to zoom in with our eyes, and then other days the sound doesn't work, but it's pretty cool. It's got these scenes saved that you can reload them, and it just reloads the last week's. And so we did that, and we thought it was good, but then Facebook started saying, we can't hear nothing. And usually in my sarcasm, I just want to say, hey, is it unmuted on your end? But it was. So in between songs, we reloaded a new scene, and it started working a little bit until Aaron texted me. But, this is what we believe. We believe that without all the stuff on stage and the amplified music and all, like, God's still going to meet us right where we are. And if the truth is this, if the lights go out and the power goes out, we're just going to kind of tug on those curtains. They're going to fall, and we're going to count on natural light, and I'm just going to talk louder, and we'll open the doors, and we're just going to have church still. I love when it all works. Like, I think it's cool when the lights change between songs. If you don't think it's cool, you might be colorblind because it's cool. But that's not what makes church the church. Like church is God's people gathered together, surrendering ourselves to His will, worshiping Him through song and through the Bible, and we just use all this other stuff because maybe it amplifies and helps us out. If the AC quits working, we'll talk about maybe not having church, so it gets hot and stuffy. We're in this series, Never Enough. I'm trying to find contentment. We're really just starting it, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't think there ever is enough. Like, I have a car. It's a pretty nice car. We bought it with like 42,000 miles on it. It's got this cool feature. If I plug my phone into it, my phone basically gets displayed on my radio. Like, I remember when I was a teenager, just having like something that had like a plug-in so I could even play songs was amazing. I remember the first CD player I had in a car. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And like, you guys remember those like big binders you would have of CDs, and like you're trying to drive with your knee while looking for the latest Britney Spears album? Like, that was a test for some of you guys. But like, I remember when that was cool, and then all of a sudden they come out with this new stuff. You know what the newest stuff is? Like, I get in some people's cars, and they don't even have to plug their phone in. Like, it just wirelessly connects through CarPlay. I'm like, well, I need that. Like, this wire, wires, they're prone to go bad. They're expensive to replace. Why not just get a whole new car so I never have to buy another $20 wire? And it's like there just never is enough. Like, I never feel like maybe there's contentment in my heart, and maybe you're much better than me and you're still rocking like that 1993 Ford Escort, and you're like, this is all I need. Like, it doesn't even need air conditioning. It's like, we've got 4x70, all 4 windows down, 70 miles per hour. The Lord will cool us off. But as believers, like, we've got to push back against this lie that we can't have enough. Like that, this scarcity mindset. We've got to live generously. And so there's never enough money. I never have enough time. There's never enough energy to do the things. And, for once in my life, I just wish there was enough. You guys ever feel that way? Yeah. Culture thrives on this fear. Advertisers, they prey on it. Like, they're counting on this. Like, when they roll out that new feature on the phone or the car or the TV or whatever it is, like, they're praying that you see it and you say, man, I need that in my life right now. Social media fuels it. Like, man, I hate when people buy new cars, because they'll share pictures of it, and all of a sudden I'm on like the Chevrolet dealership website, and they're like, we can have this delivered to your house. And I'm like, all right, like, I'll just tell my wife I want it in this prize, but they make me pay for it. It's one of those weird prizes. But the truth is this, not being content, it fuels our desire to be overworked. It fuels our desire to hoard things. Like, it fuels anxiety and stinginess. Like if we can't find contentment in our heart, like, all those things just grow wildly. I was reading a story about when people decide not to live stingy. Yeah, Craig and his wife, Amy Groeschel, some of you guys may have heard of Life Church. It's the largest church in America. They've got, more campuses than you could ever believe. They have a little different approach. Like Craig preaches at a main place, and they've got hundreds upon hundreds of other satellite campuses that he's streamed into. But it's taken off like wildfire. But before the church took off, and Craig and Amy decided, hey, we're going to plant this Life Church. He talks about we were on like a shoestring budget. And he says like eat mac and cheese every night kind of budget. And a missionary came in from overseas and was telling them about all the work that they're doing. And Amy leaned over to Craig and said, I feel like we should give them everything we got. Craig knew they had $500 in their bank account. And he's like, yeah, I feel God's moving us to do that. And so they wrote him a check for $500. Now, you got to be thinking, like $500 when it goes out, like it doesn't come back in. Like, the bills are still there the next day. Like, everything's still there. But they had felt in their heart God was calling them to give them him that $500. And so they did it. And the next day, somebody gave them a check for $500 and said, God led us to give this to you. Now, I wish, at many times in my life, I wish that that's how God worked all the time. Like he would just say, hey, you sow this seed of $1,000 a day, and like your return on investment in 3 months is 10 times that. Like, we would all be like, yeah, I'll give $1,000 today to get 10 times that in 3 to 6 months. But unfortunately, that's not how God is. He's not like this, just you input it and it magically comes out. He just says, test me and see that I'm faithful, and you give. But let me tell you, if every time you give, you're like, oh no, I know he's just going to give it back. This is no risk. I don't believe he blesses that. I believe that Amy and Craig, when they wrote that check for $500, they said, God, we trust you. Whether you provide $500 or whether you take care of it somewhere else, we're giving this to you for your use overseas in the missionary field. And they gave it with no strings attached, and God blessed them amazingly. A lot of people may not know this, that Craig and Amy, Craig got saved when he was in college. He says, I was walking into college and someone said, hey, here, I'd like to give you this. And it was one of those little green Gideon Bibles. If you've never seen one, I don't know how you've missed out on it, but they're just the New Testament. They're like this, smaller than our cell phones nowadays, to be honest, but they're small. And so he started reading it because college was hard and he needed just some kind of answers, and he ends up getting saved. Goes on, and this story takes place, and they found Life Church. And he says, man, I would love to put a Bible in everybody's hands. That's what changed my life. Like, someone gave me a Bible and it cost me nothing. So they developed this thing called the Bible app. Anybody aware of what the Bible app is? Yeah, 728 million downloads is how many downloads there's been for the Bible app. 80% of them are outside of the United States. They've got the Bible in over 2,000 languages digitally because someone gave Craig a Bible and it changed his life. He says, man, I want to do this for other people. And some 19-year-old kid on staff developed the Bible app, and it's radically changed the way people get the Bible in their hands. I mean, most of the times you talk to anybody, they've got a cell phone. Some of you guys remember the days that you used to have like a sling to carry your Bibles. Like, they were so big and your eyes were so bad, you like got the largest print they had, and your hips kind of went out sometimes. Nowadays, all you got to do is boom, and you have the Bible in your hand. And not just you, but 728 million other people, because some guy got saved, decided to trust God with his resources, and God has continued to bless him. The gospel offers us another way to live. You don't have to live afraid of running out because you're connected to the God of abundance. Today's truth is this: you don't need to protect your surplus, you just need to trust your source. First, the text is Philippians 4, chapter 4, verses 3 through 9. It says, yes, I also ask you, true partner, to help these women who have contended for the gospel at my side, along with Clement and the rest of my co-workers, whose names are in the book of life. Rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again, rejoice. Let your graciousness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Don't worry about anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any moral excellence, if there is anything praiseworthy, dwell on these things. Do what you have learned and received and heard from me and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you. So, the first point is this: scarcity begins in the mind. Paul is writing this letter in Philippians, and he's in jail, and not jail like we think of it now. He's really on like a supervised house arrest. And so nowadays, people get on house arrest, they'll get little ankle monitors. They didn't have the technology, so they just gave an 18-inch chain, and they chained you to a Roman guard. And everything you did, they did with you. Everywhere you weren't, like in the house, because he couldn't go to the store. He couldn't go out and make tents. Like he was chained to this Roman guard in this house, and everything that he did, that guard did with him. You can imagine that was not a fun time at all. And so the reason he's imprisoned is because he's taken the gospel into the Roman area, and they've said, shut up, and he refuses to shut up. And so they put him in prison, and they say, well, we'll just keep you locked up. Well, the one thing they don't take from him is he's still able to write to people. And so he's writing this letter here, and he's encouraging them to live their life a certain way. Now, Paul is dependent upon others. Like, he doesn't get to go to the store. He doesn't get to go and work. So everything that Paul has, because the state didn't care if he ate or not. And so everything that he has was brought to him by other people. So you can imagine if there was a time that he felt like never enough, like it was a time now in Paul's life. He's also facing death. Like if they decide to kill him because he won't repent and say, no, I turn from the Lord and I'll quit telling people about Jesus, they'll just kill him. So he's physically limited. He's spiritually limited. And he writes this letter and he tells them to live your life in such a way that your graciousness would be known to others. So the world might be telling Paul, you don't have enough. And Paul says, oh, no. I've got the Lord. And if I've got the Lord, I've got enough. And so Paul says, I'll give them everything I've got. I can't go and see them. I can't go and serve them. But what I can do is I can write letters to them. And Paul starts to live his life just like that. He says, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is commendable, focus on these things. And I think what Paul's trying to get to us is there's a mindset that we walk into things. And so he says, don't focus on that stuff. Don't focus on the things that would be distractions, but instead focus on these things. Scarcity says there's not enough to go around. Abundance says God is enough for everyone. And the reason we can't live with an open hand when it comes to these things is because we're gripped by fear. If I let go of it, I won't have it. Imagine if you changed your mindset and you walk into this next week, and instead of saying, I don't have time, you just say, I'll give what I got. And instead of saying, I don't have enough money, you just say, I'll give what I got. And here's the truth, that sometimes you don't have enough time. This is what I tell everybody this. People may get tired of it. If you say yes to something, you say no to something else. We've got the same 24 hours, you and I, us and Elon Musk. Like, we all have 24 hours in a day. And some people manage to get a lot done in 24 hours. Some of us manage to always feel like we're just running out of time. All we're focused on is, man, there's just not enough time. I just can't do this. And what happens when I tell myself I don't have enough time, you know what I don't do? I don't send that message to check on someone. I don't make that phone call. I don't sign up to serve. I don't go to life group because I'm like, I just don't have enough time. Or when it comes to money, I just say, man, I would love to support what God's doing. But if I give here, I won't have enough. And you know what I usually think whenever I think that? I always have enough to go out to eat, I feel like. Like, I always have enough for the things that I want. But man, if I gave it away, if I gave it to the Lord, I wouldn't have enough to go out to eat. I wouldn't have enough for the new energy drinks when they come out that I had to run down to Walmart and get. Another thing is, I'm not enough. I don't have enough to give. I'm not enough. And we tell ourselves, I'm not enough. But what if you just said, man, maybe I'm not enough, but God, you are enough. And we just said, God, you use me however you want, and we surrender to that. You know, God's already given you everything that you need. And so it's really a mindset change that we have to take, that when we walk through the week, if all we focus on is all the negative, I think that's how we live our life. And so I think that's why Paul says you focus on these things. You don't show up and serve because you feel like you have enough. You show up and serve because you want to serve God and you want to trust Him that He'll supply all of your needs. You don't give generously out of an abundance, but you give because you're confident that God is your provider. So here's a question. What is the loudest voice in your head? Is it fear? Is it scarcity? Or is it trusting God, the God of abundance? The second part is this. Generosity flows from trust in God's provision. He says, let your graciousness be known. In verse 5, the Lord is near. Don't worry about anything, but in everything through prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Paul says, don't worry, don't be anxious about anything, but instead present your requests to God. He's connecting worry and generosity. He says that instead of worrying about these things, take it to the Lord and live your life in graciousness, that everybody would know about it. And you know why we hold back? I know why I hold back. What if there's not, like literally, what if there is not enough for the bills? I'll tell you guys how much my electric bill was, but you guys would be as upset as I was. I got it, and I was so sure this month it was going to be cheaper. It was $40 more than it was last time I was mad about it. And so my kids aren't allowed to shower. We're not washing clothes. We've reverted to just leaving food in the car. It's cold enough right now. Like it's ridiculous. Like what if I give graciously? What if I give like the Lord's calling me to give, and all of a sudden there's literally not enough to the bills? And guys, as the husband, as the provider, that runs through my mind all the time. What if God leads me to cut a check out of my savings, and all of a sudden I do get 2 flat tires? Or the transmission does go out. Like, what if? What if I show up to serve and I'm here 3 days a week and all of a sudden I start feeling burnout? Like, these are all real questions. What if I give? Oh, goodness. What if I give and no one notices? I mean, these are things that in our flesh and on the physical side we talk about. What if I give and my time and my money's wasted? What if they buy a stupid smoke machine with my money? I think it'd be cool. Let's get her. You guys are laughing. It's in the works. But what if they waste my time? What if I go to serve at this event and nobody shows up? What if I pour into somebody and they walk away? What if I say yes and I can't deliver? What if I say, yeah, I'll do this because I feel God's calling me to do it, and all of a sudden I realize I literally cannot do it. I'm burning at both ends and I just don't know what to do? What if I'm the only one doing it? You ever think about that? What if I'm literally the only one who does it? What if I set a precedent that I can't keep up with? That I want to be that person that, man, no matter if they come to me and ask, I say yes no matter what, and all of a sudden I can't do it no more. Well, let me tell you this. If you keep living in the land of if, you'll never land or walk in the will of the I am. You'll miss out on it every single time. You think about this, they're in slavery for 400 years in Egypt. And God sends Moses and says, go get my people. And Moses goes, and Pharaoh won't let him go, and so God sends 10 plagues, and the last plague was the death of the firstborn, and Pharaoh says, go, get out of here, and they start chasing them, and they're going to kill them, and God parts the Red Sea, and the Israelites go across on dry land, and Pharaoh and his men are right behind them, and God closes the Red Sea, and he kills them all, and they get to the other side of the Red Sea, right? The Israelites, and they've just come off this mountaintop experience, and they're like, man, God is so good. He delivered us from slavery. And a couple days go by, and just like you and I, they're hungry. And so like, man, hey, we've got nothing to eat. Like you brought us out of Egypt, so you'd bring us out here to die? Like, what's going on? And so they cry out to God, and God provides. And do you guys remember how God provided? He sent U-Haul trucks with months of supplies, right? No. He said, I'll send you manna like dew on the ground. Every day gather up just what you need for the day. On the day before Sunday, gather up double what you need, but any other day, just enough. And what did some people do? They gathered a little more than they needed, and of course it got rotten. And God says, no. You gather what you need for the day. You know, because it wasn't about God just feeding them. God was training them to trust Him every single day of their life. It wasn't about trying to test their appetite. He was trying to test their trust. Like, do you believe that God will show up the next day? Well, we know some of them didn't because they gathered for a couple days. He says, no, gather for one day. I'll send manna tomorrow. Gather for one day. I'll send manna tomorrow. today's generosity is the same thing for us. It feels risky to give what we've set aside for tomorrow. It feels risky to sign up and serve whenever we're like, man, I'm so limited on time. But I believe God sends fresh manna every day. I believe we're talking about doing 3 services after summer. And I'm like, man, 3 services, like how in the world will we manage that? Like Braden's hands will be bleeding from the drums. Aaron's voice will be raspy. Like how in the world are we going to, like, I already say enough crazy stuff in second service. I don't know what third service looks like. Like who knows what the things will come out of my mouth? And I'm like, I don't have the energy. But I believe that every time I've stood up and preached, now let me tell you, I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I'm tired. I'm ready to nap for a couple hours. But every time I stand up to preach, God says, here's enough energy to get through the sermon. And he delivers fresh manna for the time that I need it. So you guys, the challenge is, what are you afraid to lose? What are you afraid to give up because you think you'll run out? Is it your money? Is it your time? Is it your attention? I challenge you this week, give one away. Give it away and just say, God, I want you to use this. You use my time. You use my money. You use my attention, and just give it to him. Because here's the fear, is what you treasure shapes who you become. Matthew 6:21 says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And it's not saying that your treasure reveals your heart, just saying that your treasure reveals your heart. It's saying your treasure forms your heart. Like what you treasure forms your heart, and we're not talking about the physical, talking about the spiritual heart that you have. If you treasure comfort, guess what you'll do? You'll avoid being discomfortable. Like if people make you uncomfortable and you say, man, I want to be comfortable, you'll avoid people. If you treasure success, you'll use people to climb over. But if you treasure Christ, you'll serve people even when it costs you. That's why people give sacrificially. That's why people serve sacrificially. That's why the praise team, when Aaron talked to them about going to 3 services, they're like, yeah, we're in. Because they treasure Christ more than they treasure being able to feel their fingers or sleeping in a little longer. They say, we'd rather serve Christ than we would sleep in. You know that there's more self-storage units than there are McDonald's and Starbucks combined? I wrote, there's 45,000 storage facilities in the country. That's 6.5 square feet of self-storage space for every person in America. Why? That's because we treasure stuff. And it's not just the stuff that we've tied together, that our stuff is security. And so we don't even have enough room in our houses anymore for this. That we say, man, I need this unit, and by golly, can you get a 5x10 unit over there? And we store more and more, and our hearts get shaped by the fear of losing the things. Well, all of this is not going with us. None of your retirement makes it. None of your savings account makes it. Your new cars don't make it. Your new house doesn't make it. You know what makes it to heaven with you? The spiritual seeds that you sow this side of eternity. The person that you lead to Christ. The investments you make into people. That stuff makes it. And so here's another challenge. Audit your week. See where your time's going. See where your money goes. See where your attention's going. And then ask Jesus, man, it's the things that I truly treasure in my heart, are they really even worth it? See what he would change as he starts to shape your heart for the kingdom. Generosity is a weapon against consumer culture. Going all the way back to verse 3, he says, yes, I also ask you, true partner, to help these women who have converted, who have contended for the gospel at my side, along with Clement and the rest of my co-workers whose names are in the book of life. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say rejoice. Let your graciousness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Paul urges the Philippians to help each other, to contend for one another in prayer and to give. And this isn't really just like this soft spirituality. Like this is about spiritual warfare. Like this is about not letting Satan form your heart to where the things of the world is where you find your success, or you feel like you're fulfilled from. But knowing that you have a source that far outweighs everything of this world. You know what culture tells me? Keep as much as I can keep. Like literally, like if you can save a little more, save a little more. Protect it. Like don't like, you know, the government wants it, the church wants it, your neighbor wants it, like everybody wants, like you've got to protect it. It tells me to store it up. Like, you guys all have a rainy day fund. We all want to have a little bit to the side. My wife calls it her McDonald's money. But, like, we want to store it. Like, we want to upgrade everything. You know, we bought this house that we live in a little over a year ago. You know how much, like, we want to build a porch on the back. Like, we want to build a tunnel under it. Like, all these things we want to upgrade. We want to paint it, light fixtures, and all this stuff. And part of it is, like, some of it just probably a little dated and needs upgrade. But you know what it more is? It's just things we want. And I'd be more apt to spend $4,500 on a porch extension than I'd be just to say, here you go, God, use it how you want. But the church is called to give, share, live with open hands. Like, let your graciousness, it says, be known to everyone. Every time you give, I'm telling you, you make a counterculture declaration that says, I trust God more than I trust my money. Here's the cool thing. This is so much more than about money, and we are financially doing amazing. Like, if you came to the family meeting, you heard a report about how God has blessed us so much that we've been able not only to save some money, but we've got money for ministry. Like, God is blessing us. So this isn't like like that video everybody's been seeing on social media, like we're going to lock the doors and you can't leave till we get $40,000. Like, it's not like that. We're only asking for $4,000. No. Seriously, lock the door? No. That's a joke. You can leave when you want. But like, things are going very well. Like, this is not like we need to hit the brakes and start begging for money because we can't pay the bills. This is just about that culture is going to call you to live this way, but God's word is going to call you to live drastically in another way. And really the reason it matters is this is the heart of the gospel. Like this is the heart of the most generous act that we've ever seen in history. That God gave not from his secondary, and God didn't give from an overflow of abundance, but John 3:16 says that God gave his only son, that whoever would believe could have everlasting life. Like it is, he could have protected his son. He could have said, I'm not going to send Jesus to die for him because they won't even respect it. They won't even understand what it cost me to do it. And he could have said, no, this is my son. They can be damned to hell for all that I care. But because of his love, we see the most generous act in history played out before our eyes. That Jesus, 100% God, with all authority and all power in his hands, he could have sat there and said, no way. He leaves there and he's come and born on this world for you and I. Living a life we couldn't live. If we could have lived it, trust me, they would have figured it out all throughout the Old Testament. When he said, here's a rule, and here's a rule, and here's a rule. And he gave them hundreds of rules to follow and said, if you could just follow all these rules and never sin any day, you'd make it. And what they proved over and over, it was 100% impossible. And the sacrificial system that we've seen played in and over and over and over again continued to fail because we continue to sin. And so God said, I'll send my son to be the ultimate sacrifice for everybody at one moment for all of history. And Jesus died a death we deserved. And really, that's where all this starts, is trusting in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. It's the message that we're called to scream out to the world, is that God gave it all so that you could have it all. Do you trust Him? And then after you've trusted Him, God starts to work on your heart. You know that sometimes people don't give the way they should when they're first saved. But you know, as you continue to trust God over and over and over again, how much easier that gets to give. Sometimes people get saved and, man, they just get it. Man, God saved me in a mighty way. I was a sinner, damned to hell, and He died for me. And they can't wait to just give it all. And they start to serve Him in a mighty way. But we've got to be willing to lay down our fear and our shame and our striving and trust the one who gave it all. So if you haven't trusted Jesus, in a moment we have a song of invitation, and we'd love to spend time talking to you about what it looks like to trust Jesus in your life. To surrender your will to Him and say, man, I don't know all the answers, but I want to follow you, Jesus, for the rest of my life. I don't want to protect my surplus, Lord. I want to trust you as the source. And you lay your life down before Him. For believers, guys, we don't have to live with clenched fists. Not with our time, not with our gifts, not with our talents, not with our treasures. Like our Father, it says, owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. And we hang on to things like what if he doesn't give me more? Everything you've got is a blessing from him. That paycheck you get, even that free time you have with your kids, and sometimes in my pride I'm like, what do you mean my paycheck? Like I went out and worked for it. Jesus didn't come and stand there on the assembly line for hours. But if you understand that the grace that it took even for you to take that first breath that morning, you would understand what he's given for you. So, we don't have to live with clenched fists. We can give, we can serve, we can show up, even when it costs. Even when it costs us to do so. We've got to say no to this so we can say yes to that. So here's a weekly challenge. Just give something away. Trust God with it. For whatever in your heart right now that you know, man, that's what I treasure the most. Maybe it's your time. Maybe you're like, man, any time I got, man, that's me time. I'll spend it on the golf course. I'll spend it watching Netflix. I'll spend it sitting on the back porch just soaking in the sunlight. Like, that's me time. Sign up to serve. Give some of that time to the Lord. Maybe just use it to just go and tell someone about Jesus. Say, God, this time right here, this is your time. Maybe your money's what you hang on to and you treasure. Just give it to the Lord. And here's the thing. I'm not going to give it to Life Point. That's fine. You know how many good ministries there are that you can give it to? There's food banks. There's pregnancy resource centers. Like this is not hey, come and give us your money. We'd love to have your money. We will use your money to glorify God in Fulton, Missouri and beyond. We'll use it to see lives change. Like if you trust us with your money, you can trust us. Like we're going to use it for the glory of God and the advancement of His kingdom. But if you don't want to give it to us, just give it to the Lord somewhere. Say, God, you take this money and use it. Maybe you just need to give over your heart to Him. I don't know. I really have no clue where you guys are at. Maybe you guys know someone who's in need of help and you said, man, I could meet that need. It could be they need groceries. It could be that you saw their car sit there with a flat tire for months and you have the ability to go and say, hey, let me fix this car for you. Let me take that and let me get a tire put on for you. And they're already entered my mind the if. What if they don't care? What if I fix that tire and it makes no difference in their life? Like, what if? Maybe you don't have time to serve up here. Do you got time to write a letter of encouragement to somebody? Just encouraging them in the Lord? I don't know. Give something away that you treasure in your heart and let God use it. I'll invite the praise team up and we'll have a song of invitation. And I just want to close in this. Scarcity says there's not enough, but the gospel says Jesus is enough. Scarcity says hold back, but the gospel says pour out. Scarcity says you'll run out, but the gospel says He will fill you up. Scarcity says protect what is yours, but the gospel says give what is His. You don't need to protect your surplus. You just need to trust your source. So will you trust your source or will you trust your surplus? Let's pray.